Hey, good day to you. This is Todd. I am just a regular dude walking in the Word. I'm really a regular dude walking in the Word here. We're talking about the Beatitudes in the Sermon on the Mount, and that's taking place here in Matthew, the book of Matthew, or chapter 5. And so today I want to read Matthew 5:5. Okay, and listen, I am learning just as much, more, maybe more so, than you all are. As we go through this, before you just kind of fly through this and like, oh, blessed are these people, but now I'm getting into it and really studying like what does this mean, each word. So today we are talking about this verse 5. It says this: "Blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the earth." Okay? Blessed are the meek, they shall inherit the earth. There's a lot of misinformation about meek. A lot of people think meek is weak. Okay? It's not. That's not it at all. Okay? Again, I encourage you to get John MacArthur's book, The Beatitudes, The Only Way to Happiness. Okay? It's right there. So John MacArthur's book. Some notes in it, and he talks about each of the Beatitudes here. Verse, and then he gives the difference between. We talked about this. The parables. We're on the third Beatitude here. The first one is, "Blessed are those who are poor in spirit," and you might think the poor in spirit and meekness is the same thing. Okay. Now, the Greek word can be the same, and it can be used interchangeably. And so you're like, which is which? But the poor in spirit is, let me just read this. This works out better here. "Meekness is different from being broken in spirit, though the root word is the same. In some places in the Bible, these words could be used interchangeably. But I like to see a different, beautiful distinction. Broken in spirit focuses on my sinfulness. Meekness focuses on God's holiness." Okay? So when we're talking about meekness today, I am meek because of His great holiness. God is way more holy than I could ever be. He's perfect. And I'm far from perfect. Okay? So that is what makes me meek. All right? So let me define meekness here a little bit, okay? So a meek person is someone who is gentle, mild, tender-hearted, patient, submissive. Meek was often used to describe a soothing medicine, a gentle breeze, or a colt that had been broken and domesticated, okay? So that hopefully that helps describe that. So you had, let's look at the meek from a standpoint of the Greek's use of the term, because that Greek word, what I just defined there. An unbroken colt destroys things, okay? But a broken colt is meek, and it is useful. A gentle breeze is cool, and it soothes. However, a hurricane kills. No one wants a hurricane. Everyone loves a gentle breeze. No one wants a hurricane, okay? Meekness is the opposite of violence and vengeance. The meek man has learned to take joyfully in the plundering of his possession, knowing that he has a better possession, even an abiding one with God, okay? The meek person has really died to self. All right? So there's several examples I want to give you of men that were meek. The first one is Abraham, and you're thinking, Abraham, he was meek, okay? And when I say meek, this is kind of a strong confidence, but it's gentle and submissive also when the appropriate time. But when you need to stand up and fight, they stand up and fight. Okay, it's not wimpy. So where we get this is in Genesis 13. Abraham is with Lot, and God has just promised Abraham, he says, I'm going to give you all this land. All this land is yours. And Abraham was, even in that area where he was traveling, he was known as this great guy that had accumulated all this wealth and everything. And his nephew comes along with him, okay? And his nephew didn't have as much as he did, and he was learning from Abraham. And they get into a disagreement over the land. And this is where Abraham shows meekness. And he looks at the land with Lot, and he's like, you choose what land you want, and I will take whatever's left. Okay? That was his strength. Okay, it wasn't a weakness here. And that's Genesis 13. So let me read this from Genesis 13. So Abraham said to Lot, please let there be no strife between you and me, nor between my herdsmen and your herdsmen, for we are brothers. Is it not the whole land before you? Please separate from me. If you to the left, then I will go to the right. If you to the right, then I will go to the left. In other words, he was saying, you take whatever you want and I'll take what's left. And you think, oh, wow, that was a wimpy thing to do. No, God blessed him for it, and he did that. Well, it turns out in the end of the story, what happens is a lot. He lives in Sodom, and he ends up, his wife turns into a pillar of salt. His girls were, I won't even get into that, okay? So, that's the first example, Abraham being meek. The second one is this, Joseph in Genesis. Okay, so Joseph was sold into slavery, and then in prison, and then through events that God orchestrated, he becomes like second in command over all of Egypt. And then his brothers come into town looking for food. All right, now Joseph could have said to him, hey, you guys, you sold me into slavery. And then, persecuted and yelled and screamed at him and hit him and everything else. But no, if you read through that story, he is filled with meekness, okay? And it's a great story and a good example of meekness and how he reacts to his brothers. He never once says, you guys are a bunch of idiots and I deserve to kill you, and starts wailing on him. He never does that, okay? He was filled with meekness, okay? Let me tell you another guy that I had the opportunity to ride bike with. A few years back, I did a bike ride across the state of Florida, and there was one guy on that bike ride, a well-known football coach, pro football coach, and then at that time he was an ESPN broadcaster, and so he got teams to the Super Bowl. He was that good. But when you were riding bike with him, he was just like a normal guy, and you could talk to him and about all kinds of stuff. And he was just a meek guy, and he was known that way on the football field too. You didn't see him yelling and screaming and throwing big tantrums and everything like most other coaches in that industry. He was known as calm, and he was known as being meek. That, of course, you can figure it out. That was Tony Dungy, former coach of the Colts, and before that, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So those are good examples of being meek. So, and again, remember, meek is not weak. When you need to stand up and fight, or when you need to, in defense, or stand up against sin, then you do that. But meekness is that strong courage and strength. All right. Thanks for watching. I'm just a regular dude walking in the Word, and I look forward to seeing you tomorrow as we continue going through the Beatitudes. Lord's blessing. I'll see you then.